Well, hey friends, I hope that you all are doing well. It's Saturday here at my house, and I am getting ready to film like a marathon set of videos because it took a long time to do this makeup and hair, and I'm gonna take advantage of it. This video is about life lessons that I wish I had known all along, but had to learn through the good old school of hard knocks and continue to learn through that same school. I welcome you to stay the entire time. It's a long, chatty one, and share your own thoughts in the comments. I'd love for this to be a conversation and interactive with you. Hey, you guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Big bonus points for those of you that are 80s kids and know what that's from. So first of all, I have Invisalign, and can you see them? In a very, very early video on this channel, I talked about wanting to, this is so vain and so not in keeping with some of the lessons that we're going to talk about today, but sorry for showing y'all the inside of my mouth. I mean, we're getting intimate. But this little twist in my teeth down here, I also have a crossbite over here that I want to correct. So I decided I wanted to explore Invisalign. And when I went to the orthodontist, one of the most amazing orthodontists in the area, I had asked him, would my gums shift? And he was like, smile for me. So here I am, and he pointed out something that I knew to be true, but had never thought about. And that's that this tooth is lower than that one. And with correction, this tooth would probably be pushed a little bit higher into the gum. And I was like, oh my God, the things that you find out that are wrong with you when there is a medical or cosmetology or other kind of tool that can help you that costs a lot of money. So anyway, the teeth are in the Invisalign brackets. So if I sound like I have a lisp or my speech is different, it's because I'm still getting used to using them. Why do I look so greasy? Because I am pretty fresh out of the shower and have done my little moisturizing serum routine and all of that, but I use the Super Goop Play with the SPF 50. I have an enormous bottle of this waiting because I have a backup, and this is down to like the last little ching ching. If you speak Spanish or from a family that speaks Spanish as a background, a ching ching is like a little tiny, little itty bitty bit that's sitting in there waiting to be used. Now that we've gotten that very awkward intro out of the way, what we're going to do today is get ready together. And I wanted to riff off of, like I mentioned in the last video, I wanted to riff off of two ladies who I watch here on YouTube, Ijoma Lyons, who posted a video about the sport of pleasure. And it really touched my heart, the way that she did a spin on, as we grow, we allow ourselves, or should be allowing ourselves, moments of pleasure. Get your mind out of the gutter. We're not talking about like carnal pleasure, friends. We're talking about all the other pleasures that life can bring. Although, hey, if carnal pleasure is your thing, who am I to judge? And then also Liz Tobert, who always does an affirmation at the beginning of her fragrance and product review videos that is about loving yourself. So I've been thinking a lot about those two videos. And I recently saw a video by Marlena Still. Is that her last name? She started the Makeup Geek company that is no longer in business, but she still does YouTube videos. She's a lot of fun to watch, and she's, if I'm not mistaken, in her early 40s. And she posted a video about lessons she wished she had learned earlier in life. And it got me thinking about all of the lessons that we all have. I have lessons. I'm sure you have lessons too that you have learned maybe the hard way. Most of us learn our life lessons the hard way, like through the school of hard knocks. And if we're lucky, we have mentors in our life that signal to us the lessons that we should take to heart. And then it's up to us to figure out whether we do take them to heart or not. And sometimes those become inculcated in the way that we see the world and interact with others and move through this life. But I'm like, after 40 something years of living, almost approaching 50, am I any smarter than I was at, say, 5 years old? Have I figured anything out in this world? What is it that I believe to be fundamentally true? Like, what do I hold true in my heart? And I'm not talking about religious beliefs. I'm not talking about core values, although maybe the core values kind of creep into this. But these are more like general beliefs about almost like the laws of physics, but as it applies to humans. So the world operates by many sets of laws. One of them is the laws of physics. The primary law of physics being that everything has an equal and opposite reaction. We all know that, right? So if I press on this hand, the laws of physics tell me that this hand is pressing back equally hard on it. All of that. There are laws of thermodynamics and all other kinds of laws. So what are the laws of moving through the world as a human? And the answer is no one knows. People turn to religious doctrine often to guide the way that they move through the world. Nothing wrong with that. There's tremendous value in many different religious traditions. Many of them preach similar tenets about how to behave toward each other. You know, the main ones that I take from that are three things, and I've mentioned this in other videos, but three things that I try to be, I don't always succeed, and the three main lessons that I have for our kids, and that is to be humble, to be kind, and to be generous. But this video isn't about that. This is a little bit different than that. And it's like, as you observe the known world, because there's a lot of unknown that we can't put our fingers on and we haven't figured out how to observe yet. As we observe the known world, what are the lessons of interaction, of living as a human that we think we have learned? And I'd love for this to be a bit of a conversation. Obviously, this is a video, so you can't respond back, but would love to hear from you in the comments as we go along in this series, and would appreciate you sharing what are your lessons that if you had to share them with others and hope that others would not have to learn them the hard way, what would they be? And then let's do some makeup too. Let's get ready. It's filming day. Did you guess that already? Because I usually film these videos, well, sometimes film these videos on the same day that I'm filming for the other channel. So let's talk about the main product that I'm going to use, which is the eyeshadow palette that really guides the rest of the makeup look. So the palette of choice today is who? Natasha Denona. And it is the My Dream palette. I like this palette. I like that it has a, oh my God, it's so gross and messy. That's so embarrassing. But so is the microfiber cloth that I wipe my makeup off with. Did I share that I keep this on the counter and then use it in the morning to wipe my makeup brushes off on the next day? Bacteria City, don't tell anybody. My Dream palette, I like that it looks like it's splashed with paint and all of that. Some people didn't like that. But here is what the palette looks like. I think it's quite pretty. I love that there's a variety of colors. Did I go crazy over this palette the way a number of makeup channels did? Not so much, but it is a pretty darn good palette. So I'm gonna give some thought to maybe sticking in this section. I don't know, because I think I want to deepen up a lot because it shows up better on camera. So we'll work with that. Let me start with saying, if you want ooey and gooey underneath your foundation, which I do today because I'm going to be using a really mattifying drying foundation that I love. This stuff is thebomb.com. I mean, look at this. It's almost like sticky, and it sits like a serum on your face and doesn't really ever get not tacky. Well, maybe after, you know, an hour or so it calms down, but it stays really juicy. And what I like about that is that it grips the foundation. It gives something the foundation to sort of stick to, if that makes sense. I'm using this Maybelline concealer. I forget the exact name of it, but it looks like this. And it's in the color 20 Warm Sable, which has been sort of a staple in my collection. So I'm going to do 5 of these sort of lesson things today. And again, not as a way for me to be pious or sanctimonious or tell anyone how to live their life. God forbid. However, I thought it would be interesting to kind of explore these together and get everyone's thoughts and opinions. And again, love to hear from you. So the first one that I'm going to start with is actually one that I've mentioned in another video, because I really believe it. And it's not just about the saying, but also there's some there's always sub bullets behind it, right? Or underneath it rather. And that's that never argue with a fool, because from a distance, no one can tell the difference. So what is that statement really about? I think I talked about this in the video that was about, I forget, but I think it was about the social media trolling, like just the negative, stupid comments that you can get on social media, and that if you engage, you end up arguing with morons, right? And then you look like a moron because you're arguing with people who really don't want to hear what you have to say. When you're young, there's an expression that you're full of piss and vinegar. Have you ever heard that? Pardon my French, if you will. Meaning that you're full of like adrenaline and a need to prove yourself. And if we were men, I'd say you were full of testosterone, but there's sort of a female equivalent, right? We joke around and say she's got some ovaries on her. But when you argue with people, and I'm guilty of this too, so I'm not innocent of this, right? But I'm learning as I get older that this statement is true. When you argue with people, you want to do so as a way to take back control or power in a situation that made you feel a certain way. Like for me, typically I want to come at someone if I am feeling like they have slighted me unjustifiably, or worse, someone else that I care about. So if I feel like someone innocent or someone that can't defend themselves is being verbally attacked by someone, for example, or being made fun of or something like that, I don't know, something deep inside of me feels like it's my duty to protect them. And so I want to come at the offender. And that's as a way to take back control of a situation and put the offender in their place and take their power away from them. But what you do when you argue with fools is, in fact, give away your own power because you're now wrestling with the pigs, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of power in not retaliating and a lot of power in staying silent and not dignifying stupidity with responses. And boy, in the end, it's really about maintaining your sense of peace and not letting other people affect that. So my foundation is the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Ultra Longwear Foundation, and this is in the color 4 Warm 2. 4 Warm 2 Chai is the color, like chai tea. And I think this is getting discontinued. I see very little of this around in stores anymore. I don't see it any longer on the Laura Mercier website. Or maybe I stopped seeing some of the colors or something. So I did get a backup of one. There's the color. I've gotten into the habit of putting foundation on the back of my hand. I saw that in someone's video, I don't remember who. And then, you pat it out there as a way to warm it up before you put it on your face, and it helps it spread and apply more evenly on your face. So again, back in that video when we were talking about the negative comments on social media, one of you said something along the lines of, protect your peace above all else. And that resonated with me so deeply. I thought to myself, yeah, that's exactly the right message to give to someone like me who can get irritated by the stupidity of that stuff. And in the end, all I'm doing by paying attention to it is giving up my sense of control and my own personal peace. Here's the thing. Have you ever changed someone's mind by arguing with them? I haven't. In fact, what I've noticed more often than not is when I engage in any form of debate or anything like that with someone, I am in fact giving them reason to more deeply dig their heels into their own argument. Have you noticed that too? Have you ever argued with a sibling, a friend, a spouse, a coworker, and in the end, when you are done, they think more of the same that started the argument, and they think it deeper and harder. Like they're more attached to their point of view than before you started. Am I the only one, or does that happen to you too? That's been my observation in general when it comes to arguing, that it actually has the opposite effect on people than what we think. We rarely change someone's mind. Yeah, we might make someone feel a little bit small if you're trying to argue to get at them, to kind of hook back at them or something. If they hurt you, you want to hurt them back a little bit. I'm old enough to try to not do that, but sometimes you just want to let somebody have it. But in the end, people rarely change their minds if you really care about an issue, for example. Think about all of the big social debates of the time, social and political debates that you see on TV, played out on TV. Does anyone ever change their mind? Does a Democrat ever become a Republican? Does a Republican ever become a Democrat? Does a pro-lifer ever become a pro-choicer? Does a pro-choicer ever become a pro-lifer? The only thing I've really seen change anyone's beliefs is their own actual experiences. That they have gone through something or seen loved ones go through something themselves that have, for whatever reason, helped them see things differently on their own, not through argument and not through words. So in that sense, I find words to be the least effective way to get people to change their minds about anything. In fact, the one thing that I would say is let time do its thing and let people learn things on their own. And maybe you need to learn some things too. This isn't all outward facing about how other people need to change and be better humans or whatever. This is about us too. So I've rarely, if ever, changed my mind based on what someone has said to me or an argument that they've presented, because the mind is wired to argue back. Sadly, very few people take the time to actually reflect on what someone else is saying and say, I think you have a point. And I now see things differently. Does that happen? Yeah. But more often than not, it's the opposite, especially if you're doing it in the heat of the moment. So that's the first one. Don't argue with folks. You're not going to change their minds more than likely. And in fact, you're just going to create more frustration for them and for yourself. And people are going to become more staunch in their opinions than if we had just let time take its course. So then let's go on to number 2. And this is a big one. These are all big. This one is especially big, and one that people are really not ready to hear. And it is that the way that you perceive the world is a reflection of your own attitudes, your own beliefs, and your own biases. That's a deep one. Why is it a deep one? Well, is it not the case that most people believe that the way that they see things is the way that things are? Do you find that to be true? I do. There are very few people in my life that have the perspective and humility to understand that the way that they see the world is not the actual facts. And in fact, there isn't any one way to see the world. I don't know very many people that get that. Maybe some that have dibbled and dabbled in philosophy courses and that kind of a thing and understand the concept of perception or psychology courses or something, and that perception is self-made and unique to each individual. Maybe they get it. Most people just don't. Most people believe that as they see the world is the way that it is. But the expression is that you see the world not as the world is, but as you are. Your view of the world, my view of the world, everyone's view of the world is nothing more than a tapestry of all of the experiences that we've had, all of the beliefs that we've come to think are true, all of the constructs that we have in our mind through which we filter what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we think. Sort of like looking at a piece of artwork. I think we would probably all agree that those are flowers back there. However, whether you think it's a happy, depressing, green or blue painting is subjective. Whatever emotions that painting evokes for you, if any, is subjective, unique, and individual to you. In other words, you know how we go to the optometrist and they check our vision. By the way, I use the Maybelline Fit Me loose finishing powder in the color 25 medium. And they check our vision by twisting those little lenses and asking us if we see the letters clearly. How we see the world is an analogy to that. Whatever ways that we have twisted all of the information that we have inputted and downloaded into ourselves through our existence, the way that we twist all of that into a lens is the way that we come to see the world. It's really just quite that simple. I think the hard part is that we all have those lenses and we don't know it. So the ego being what it is, each individual believes that the way that they see things is factual and the way that things are. Am I wrong? There are very few people that have the humility and the sense of perspective to understand that their view is only one view of many. And it causes all kinds of relationship issues, right? When we expect other people to see things as we do, feel things as we do, believe things as we do, it's the source of so much conflict and problem. It's unbelievable. But in understanding that our view is singular and unique to us, we can then step back and appreciate that other people are seeing the world through their own sort of twisted up optometry lens, and that it's not a wrong way to see things. It's just the way that they see things. And they don't have to twist their lens to see things the way that you do. It's okay if they see things differently. So here's something I've been doing lately, and that's taking my big powder brush after I powder my face and actually going in with my bronzer. One thing that I always forget to do is do like a cream cut in and all of that. I've got a lot of cream bronzers, but because I'm so used to my makeup routine where I put my wet foundation on and then put the powder on, and then I go in and try to struggle to like layer in a cream bronzer or, cream contour, either or. Anyway, let's do Caramel Cutie from Fenty. And this is a powder one. And I'm literally going to take that same brush, and it's a big brush, and just kind of go all over to warm up the face even further. I mean, I'm pretty golden from self-tanning. So lesson number 3. Ooh, this can be so hard, but I would say of all of the lessons, this is the most liberating one once you come to accept it and understand how it plays out in life. And that's that comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is the thief of joy. What do we mean by that? It's natural for we as humans to compare ourselves to each other. It's natural to say, she's prettier than me, or skinnier, or taller, or she's got longer, leaner legs. She's wealthier. She's smarter. Her parents treated her better. She went to better schools. She's got a better job. She speaks more eloquently than I do. She's smarter than me. She's got it made. Her husband is hotter than mine. Oh my God. These are the things that people think. Have you ever thought any of these things? I went through this thing as a youth where I wanted to be #1 in smarts. Go look at my Soft Life Principles video if you want to know why. Being smart was my ticket out of my circumstances that I grew up in. I was going to go to an Ivy League college, which I did, and I was going to be wealthy. Does someone always have more money than me? Yep. Is there always someone in the room that's smarter than me? Oftentimes, especially in the organization I work with, I have a lot of brainiacs around me who I admire a lot and I learn from, but it humbles me. Is there always someone prettier than me? Yeah. Someone taller, all of those things, right? All of those things. Let's apply that to the YouTube space. Is there someone that started their channel at the same time as me that has more viewers, that grew more quickly? Absolutely. Is there someone more charming? I mean, I hope I'm a little charming for y'all, just a little bit, but is there someone more, all of those things? Yes, the answer is always yes. There's always someone who is in some better position, but let me tell you the opposite. There's always someone who's worse off. So in both ways, comparison is the thief of joy. If you're comparing yourself to people who appear by appearances, by whatever metrics you set, to be doing better than you, then you feel less than. If you're comparing yourself to people who are not as fortunate, then you might, I don't know, maybe you don't. You might feel guilty about that and maybe undeserving in some ways. Like, how come I get to lead an easy life or have these things or whatever, and this other person has to struggle so much? Why did they have such a crappy hand dealt to them in life? It goes both ways. And so there's that expression of stay in your lane, run your own race, stay your own course. All of those things become apparently and abundantly true as you get older. And the sooner that we do that, the quicker we can find joy in minding our damn business, minding our business, and enjoying our own journey and whatever the universe, God, whatever you believe in has set forth for you and your path, and not worrying about the next person. Don't worry about what Becky's doing. Don't worry about what Susie Q is doing, okay? You worry about your journey and what life has in store for you. You have your own challenges. You have your own successes. You have your own circumstances that are unique to you. I think I want to use this color, Carpe Diem, as the background shade. And I want to use this one to deepen up. Maybe this one on the lid with some pops of gold and this silver. We'll see how those work out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a lot of colors. And I want to share, or reshare rather, because I've talked about this Cinema Secrets, which I purchased a big bottle of to refill, and I'm going to keep this little one on my counter, refill this little one as I go. I literally just spray this onto like a clean corner of the cloth and take my natural hair brushes and swirl it, and it takes everything off and makes it clean. Actually, I'm going in with this lighter pink that was right underneath that, sort of underneath that Carpe Diem. So number 4, and this goes back to Ijoma's video where she talked about pleasure. One lesson for me is that pleasure has been the ultimate escape for me from whatever. Whatever is ailing you, bothering you, whatever you're thinking about way too much, pleasure can be an escape. And why is that? Pleasure really allows you to live in the moment. It forces you to suspend your worrying about what's in the future. And unless it's associated with a really good memory, it's unlikely you'll have room in your mind and your heart as you're experiencing pleasure to think backwards to miserable things. I mean, of course, there's exceptions to everything I'm talking about, friends, but generally speaking. So that begs the question then, what brings you pleasure? This I'd love to hear about in this I'd love to hear about in the comments from y'all. I'll share just a few of mine, and there's many things that I have learned to take just normal day-to-day pleasure from and pause and enjoy and do the live in the moment kind of thing. And that can be hard for me sometimes for a reason I will explain in a minute. But one thing I used to do that I don't do anymore, I used to paint. Now, I've painted literally like rooms in houses. That's a really pleasurable thing that is a rhythmic kind of activity that takes your mind off of things. But that's not what I'm talking about. I used to paint abstract paintings, and I enjoyed the act of opening up the paint, squeezing it onto the palette, and just like being very tactile and digging in it. And I would use brushes, I would use my fingers sometimes, I would use other objects. Like if I wanted a serrated edge, for example, on a painting, I might get something that has like a cardboard edge or whatever. Used to use stamps, all sorts of things to create these sort of industrial, abstract looking pieces. They were very satisfying to me, very satisfying to produce. I don't do that anymore, and I can't really explain why, except that there's only so many hours in a day. Other hobbies have taken over. Listening to music is another one. I so enjoy my playlist on Spotify. They help me to really, like I said, live in the moment. There's something very invigorating about music, centering, even if it's sad music, being able to sing out loud, hum a song even, tap my feet. There's something invigorating and soothing and cleansing and calming about listening to music for me. I will say the same is true about dancing. Like if I'm moved to dance while I'm listening to music, I also feel a deep sense of in the moment kind of pleasure. It's like a letting go of all of your worries. Isn't that a Lionel Richie song about dancing all night long? Well, my friends, the time has come to lose yourself and have some fun. Something like that. Throw away the work to be done. Let the music play on, play on, play on, play on. Everybody sing, everybody dance. You get the idea. Lose yourself in wild romance. On to I don't know the words. Awesome song though. So I'd love to hear from you. What do you do for pleasure? Do you cook? Do you watch movies? Do you walk? I absolutely love when there's no bugs involved, because bugs will ruin it. I love to walk in nature. I love to hike. In fact, my son and I are going to the hills of Virginia this weekend. We're going out to Harrisonburg. We're going to look at James Madison University as a college of interest for him. And we're going to go to Luray Caverns. Have you ever been to Luray Caverns in the mountains of Virginia? Really neat underground cavern system with beautiful formations. It's one of the most peaceful places. It's very cool down there. It's very soothing. It's very quiet. You're away from the world. And I'd like to hike along the Shenandoah Mountains and one of the trails up there with him also. So that'll be really fun, really soothing, a way to sort of just get away from the world. Nature, painting, music, dancing, those are big ones for me. And honestly, just sitting in my bed and watching YouTube videos brings me pleasure. Mostly. There's times I get sick of videos. I get sick of my own videos and editing my own videos. I mean, how much videoing can we do? But when I'm in the mood for it, it's one of the most relaxing things. Like, let me see what so-and-so is up to. What she got to share today? And I just listen in. I'm nodding my head as I'm hearing my girls here or my guys on YouTube talk about whatever's on their mind or their hobbies, the way they're living. Okay, it's time to go in with a shade for the eyelid. The eyelid. This shade here, Babies, I'm going to try as an all over and then put this one in the inner corner. Let's see how that works out. Well, I don't know because this is very like pinky, almost bluish pink, but let's try. So then let me go on to the fifth lesson. And this is probably the hardest one for me. I struggle with this one more than the others because I know this to be true and I don't want it to be true. So anyone who knows me knows that I have a very unusual obsession with our morbidity, the fact that we live and we die. And what is this all about? I've talked about it in other videos. So the lesson is that time humbles everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, how much money you have, with one exception. And that's people that die young and in their prime. Someone like River Phoenix comes to mind, or James Dean, but even they had demons that they dealt with. But what I mean that at least in the public eye, they passed away in the prime of their life, if you will. They were in their most beautiful physical form, beloved by people, and hadn't run into many problems that other people really knew and understood. Okay, that's what I mean by that. Actually, I think I'm going to take this color Spontaneous and put it on the inner corners here and then go over that with, like, tap a little bit of gold. Yeah, I think that was the right decision. But so time humbles everyone. So one of the things that I am the most challenged with, and you all know this because I've talked about this, is sitting still. I have such a problem with being unproductive. It's ridiculous. Like, I will, in my mind, try to pack 5 activities into a Saturday. By activities, I mean, like, I'm going to do laundry and I'm going to organize my closet. I'm also going to do groceries. We're going to have piano lessons. We are also going to take a walk. And by the way, we're going to watch that movie we've been looking at. And if there's time, I'm going to wash my makeup brushes. I'm going to film 3 videos. I mean, you can see the insanity of that. That is my addiction. Everyone has an addiction. Mine is my unrealistic view of time and how much I can fit into an hour, an afternoon, a day. It's a problem. It's a problem. And I'm struggling with that. Hi, my name is Veronica, and I have a problem managing my own time. Not because I'm unproductive, but because I try to be too productive. That's a problem rooted in a lot of psychological mess, you all. I'm not going to get into like the psychological parts of it, except to say, sheesh. So my husband jokes that my tombstone is going to say, she thought she had more time. Because I always think I have more time. That is typically what I'm saying to him as we are winding down for the day. I'm saying to my husband, gosh, I didn't get to do X, Y, and Z today. I thought I had more time to do that. And, you know, he's always like, babe, slow down, slow down. And I'm like, but why should I? Why should I? Why should I put off tomorrow what I can do today? I don't think the other way. I don't think the whole like, why should I do today what I can put off to tomorrow? I haven't learned that lesson yet. And part of the reason why I'm that way, as I get older, it is clearer and clearer to me that time is closing in on us. I know that's so depressing to hear, but we don't know how much time we have left. And as we see our peers passing away at younger ages than we thought they would, diseases taking onset earlier and, you know, ruining people, just ruining people. You know, I'm always like, when are we going to be next? I realize that's a horrible attitude to have as we go back to the way that you perceive the world as a reflection as you are. Part of what I are in my mind is a little paranoid about like what's to come, you know? So I need to own that part for myself and embrace the insecurity of not knowing what's coming. But it's hard, y'all. It's difficult is what I have to say. I'm going to take the blackest black, and that's literally what she calls it, in the corner, and use that as an eyeliner. Again, if you're an 80s kid, you know, was it Days of Our Lives? Like sands through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives. And it literally shows an hourglass. That haunted me as a kid. It still haunts me, those little grains of sand coming through that hourglass, y'all. And the top part of the hourglass is getting smaller and smaller. You know, I may have 10 years left on this planet, 20, 30, 40. I'm blessed if I have 50. I don't know. We don't know. No one knows. Maybe I have 5. No one knows. And that's the point. And so, you know, it begs the question, well, so what if you accomplish a lot or not if you only have a limited time left? What does that really all mean? I don't have the answers to all those questions, All I can say to you is that it makes me feel, for some reason that I have yet to uncover, to diagnose, to understand, to deconstruct for myself. For some reason, I feel like I'm taking better advantage of life if I'm moving, if I'm in motion. Maybe the opposite's true. Maybe if I sat my behind down somewhere and breathed for a minute, maybe time would slow down some for me. Maybe I'm making time speed up in a quantum sort of way in my mind because I'm constantly in fast motion. Therefore, it seems like time is passing faster and faster and faster. How's that for like some Twilight Zone stuff? So here's the finished look. I used the blackest black on the top of my eye. I used aspiration under the eyes. And I think I took that color that I used for the crease in the inner part. No, that's a lie. I took this color and put it in the little intersection there. On the cheeks is the Pat McGrath Divine Blush Glow Cheek Palette. This thing is gorgeous. I mixed these two colors together on my cheeks. I did a little bit of highlighter with that. I also did an inner corner eye highlight just to zhuzh it up a little bit more because more is more. This is in the color Vanilla Quartz from Becca, which is no longer made, and that's also up here. Did my eyebrows. On the lips, I have the Makeup Forever Artist Color Pencil in Wherever Walnut, which is a nice pinky tone, like neutral pinkish color. Look at that. Wherever Walnut. It doesn't look very walnut to me. It looks really pink. I put Uptight Comfort Matte from Urban Decay, Uptight Comfort Matte on the lips. And in the middle of my lips, I have I Need a Nude from Natasha Denona in the color Maria. It's a lighter pink. Maybe it doesn't make a difference. And I have Pageant curled the hair. There's lots of different ways to curl your hair. You can find all sorts of tutorials on YouTube that tell you to do it this way and that way, and I have tried those ways and I always come back to this. The other thing I have really loved is using the Dyson, whatever the heck that thing is called that has the big curling things where it's like a turbo engine. That gives you really big hair too, but it takes a little bit longer. Like you need to carve out some time to use that one so that you can have the right attachments and pay attention and all of those things. So my pals, here's what we're working with for the day. These curls will probably fall out even further as I start to film and the hair does what hair does. But for now, we're working with this. Yeah. So I hope you have enjoyed the video. Welcome your thoughts in the comments. And if you feel so inclined, please share one of your lessons, life lessons that you wish you knew when you were younger. Take care, friends. See you in the next video.